one, what are your thoughts on this article?
Well, the thing that stuck out to me the most in this was, I mentioned before, but it's this idea that writers can no longer tell stories that entertain people. They've got to say something. They have to have some kind of message in it, or they have to teach us something, because we're all bad people. We don't know how to get along. And so we need to be taught lessons. And so now we have a generation of young people who feel like that they need to teach us old people lessons about life, when clearly we know it's the other way around. And so they don't know how to relate to us. These stories are just sheer narratives. You know, this character did this character did that, this character wasn't seen, this character is now seen, this character now feels seen by everybody. You know, so see us. Stories that, I mean, just go back, think about your favorite movie and ask yourself, why is it your favorite movie? And invariably it's because there's some element of that story that you connected with. You know, that somehow this writer, this director, and this film crew understood what you're going through in life and wanted to portray that on screen and tell you that you have hope. Those are the movies that generally are what we consider our favorites, are what we always apply the words great to. And I defy anyone to use the word great, excellent, to anything that's coming out these days. You know, I got into it with people who couldn't believe that I would say that Echo is an embarrassment to the Native American community. It is an embarrassment to the Native American community because there's no excellence. They make stupid mistakes. Echo's leg, she loses her leg because of a giant shard of glass that came out of nowhere, because clearly it couldn't have come from the car accident that she was in. Excellence. Right. You know, no one cares about excellence anymore. No one cares about relating or being empathetic to people anymore. No, these people, they just want to be seen and they want to be heard. And that's what we call narcissism. There you go. That's what I feel about this.
Well, look, the industry is suffering as a result.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just to piggyback on what you just said, the industry is suffering as a result. Audiences are turning away. If you look at the big picture, the audience has been divided by all of the streamers, right? There's, you know, we went from like, wow, I cut the cord. I basically have Netflix in this and I'm happy. Now I basically rotate around the different streaming services I have. It's too much. It's too much. And most everything you see is just okay. It's just okay. It's mid. That's why I feel like we could call the whole month of January mid-January. Because one, we're actually in mid-January, but everything coming out in January is mid as a movie, with the exception of The Beekeeper for me. But wow, we're just going through a time where I hope that there are lessons learned. I hope that if the conversation in the meeting room can shift back to story and character, you're going to weed out the people, because if they don't have interesting ideas, then what are you even saying? What are you talking about? I feel like if the most interesting thing about you is your identity, you're not interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to tweet that. So let me,
or maybe the reason you're not being heard is because you have nothing to say.
That's exactly right. And I feel like it takes time. Like, look, what's weird is I'll see like old videos of me, like from the 90s, or like stuff that I wrote like in the 80s and 90s. And I'm like, I pretty much had like the same kind of way of looking at things, which is corporate and big studio stuff mostly sucks because it's not pure in terms of coming from one creative vision, and indie stuff tends to be better at that. Right. What Hollywood has tried to do is co-opt indie filmmakers and then control them. Now, some are perfectly willing to be controlled. You know, the filmmakers behind the Captain Marvel movie were Sundance darlings. They came from the Sundance Film Festival, suddenly thrust into make a Marvel movie, and then they were easily controlled, and you got what you got with Captain Marvel.
Right. Well, I think Gary brought it up. It seems like, not to get conspiratorial here, but you know, the reason they bought Marvel, the reason they bought Star Wars was because we weren't hearing their voices. And so the best way to do is to buy what we were hearing and now speak through those voices. And that's why they've ruined Disney. That's why they've ruined Star Wars. That's why they've ruined Marvel.
But you know, Marvel at the beginning, like, this was cool. Look, Marvel hired James Gunn, who had done, previous to doing the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, had only done small indie movies. Now, his indie movies were awesome. Super being among my favorites. James Gunn, rare talent that could transition to doing a big budget studio film where he could do what he wants. You and I saw Oppenheimer the other night at a special
concert screening.
Concert screening where they performed the music live in front of the movie with sound. You know, it was like dialogue and sound only. And it struck me, there's an interesting line in that movie, and this is coming from Christopher Nolan, who is a guy who did indie films. He did 2 indie movies. He did a movie called Following, a black and white 16 millimeter movie that is very difficult to find. Yep. Get it on standard def.
Also, he premiered a film at Slamdance, not Sundance, but
Slamdance was following. The next year, he had Memento with Guy Pearce, another really, and Joey Pants, another really solid indie movie. And by the way, The Following standard def DVD is the only DVD ever done where Christopher Nolan does a commentary track. So look for that movie. My point is that Christopher Nolan was able to transition to making studio movies where he could retain his voice and vision. Now he's got more or less leeway depending on what he's doing. I think in the Batman films, he was given certain marching orders of what a Batman movie should be. I think The Dark Knight is arguably one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. Batman Begins, second for me, but people, you know, have it the other way around. I get it. But
third one, not so much.
The third one, there are issues. It's a great half of a movie. But in any case,
okay.
There's a really good line I noticed in Oppenheimer that didn't stand out to me before. And it's when one of the scientists, God, I forget the actor. There's so many.
But David Krumholtz, that one? Or
every white male in that movie. It's like they just hired every white male in Hollywood to be in that movie. And Robert Downey Jr.'s performance is exceptional. The point is the line is very simple line. You've got Matt Damon playing this general with this task who's all about secrecy. And one of the scientists gets up on a chalkboard who's basically telling the other scientists information that he should not be telling them. And the general kind of overseeing Matt Damon as a general, looking at him like, you know, we had this conversation about secrecy. And he's like, and the scientist responds, I told you I understood. I didn't say I agreed. And that's what I feel like we need a little more of that energy in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. I understand what you're telling me. I don't agree. And I'm going to make the movie that I want or hire the staff room that I want. And this is kind of where we are now is, well,
that's why I keep saying Hollywood's not the dream. Even if you want to become a filmmaker, you get into Hollywood, you're no longer a filmmaker. You're a drone to the system. You know, that's why indie film is so great, is because it's your movie, it's your story. You know, you tell it the best way you can, and whether people want to listen to it or not, that's up to them. But at least you told your story.
Well, I'll just say this also, like, I wouldn't just say that just because a movie is an independent film doesn't make it a great film. Mm-hmm. It means that in a lot of cases, we see a lot of indie movies that swing for the fences and fail. I would put like Book of Clarence in that category. It's like, well, he swung for the fences. He failed. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. But we can point out, I feel like there are more failures as more indie films fail, but a lot of them try to have a singular creative vision. And sometimes you can see through the roughness of an indie film. I always say it's like a bird with broken wings. It's flawed, but there are interesting things here that are worthwhile.
Yeah. Because I mean, that's the thing is when you do a Hollywood film, there's so many hands in the process.
Yes.
You know, any bad ingredient will ruin the entire meal.
Right.
And that happens in Hollywood. You could have written the great, in fact, we hear stories this all the time. A great script, but the execution was horrible and killed the story.